Hey everybody, and welcome to FYB's live French Open webcast. Today is Friday, June 2nd, and we had the men's semifinals today.
Big games.
I thought they were really interesting matches. Speaking of matches, World Cup soccer game has
Going
just
on
gone
right
into
now.
penalty kicks, so if we're distracted for a minute, it's because we're watching that.
Pretty ridiculous. A brilliant handball there played late
Smart,
in the game.
I guess.
But
Smart
yeah,
one.
Absolutely.
Before we get rolling, I want to thank Championship Tennis Tours for sponsoring this webcast. Link to their website directly below the video player. So if you guys are going to go to tennis tournaments this summer, please get your tickets through them. Promo code FYB gets you free shipping, and if you go to the US Open, we'll be up there with CTT, so we can hang out. And yes, Ma Winnie, we are watching the penalties as well, but I actually wanted to delay.
They're on a big TV right behind the camera there.
To delay for a minute, but Adam was saying he had to keep the trains on time.
Yeah, got to keep it running.
You know, I had to listen to the boss.
All right, so the first thing, what do we want to talk about?
Well, I think Nadal, Murray. Let's get to that second, because that was sort of the match of the day. I think first we should talk about Berdych and Djokovic.
Okay.
So we can pull that up. Let me actually adjust this so we can get the old magnifier going. And if you guys saw my preview, my video preview predicting this match, I thought Djokovic was going to win, and I was wrong. He lost in straights. Really, what did him in was the second set breaker, where he was down 6-2 for 4 set points, and then he came back 4 set points against. He came back, had some opportunities, and then ultimately double faulted to lose that set, and then that was kind of the end of the Djokovic. Berdych played great, other than his first serve percentage, which I thought was a little low, 57%. Djokovic, on the other hand, 73%.
Yeah, you want to clip over to those stats?
Yeah, we can come back. Yeah, so there's 57 versus 73. Great first serve percentage. And, I said in the preview, one of the keys for Djokovic is the first serve percentage, and he took care of business there. But he didn't do a good enough job of holding off some of these break chances, and then he didn't convert when he had looks.
Sure.
So it was just sort of a kind of an unfocused performance
by Djokovic.
From Djokovic. Yeah, he just never. There were moments in the match where he seemed like he wasn't. Actually, yeah. Quick tangent.
Yeah. Could you pause your phone?
Charles in the chat. I heard this. Charles McEnroe mentioned Dennis Kudla on air.
Oh, really?
Dennis is Frank Salazar's one of his students. And he's ranking-wise in the juniors, he's the best American in the world. And I guess he was hanging out with McEnroe in the locker room, talking about strings. How McEnroe was talking about Rafa's strings and just strings in general, and Dennis was talking to McEnroe about switching from gut to Luxilon.
Oh, yeah.
And how it gave him a little bit more spin, so he could take huge cuts and still have the ball drop in. So it was nice to see. Dennis get some recognition, and through that Frank as well, because he's one of, like we've said before, he's one of the best coaches in not just the United States, but
and he's on our website.
But the world, yeah, and he's on our website. So yeah, it was to go back to the Djokovic match. It was just a strong performance from Berdych from a shot making standpoint, hit some nice balls, but I never felt like Djokovic really pressed him for an extended amount of time. So I'm not sure really how much we can kind of glean from this match. And I think Berdych has been playing great. Obviously beat Djokovic, 2 big wins.
He does seem like he's certainly on a roll right now.
He does. I think the concern.
So is Rafa, though.
well, that's what I was going to get to, because if we look at Berdych's draw, he was down earlier in the tournament, but it was against I believe Daniel Brand's.
I'm clicked over to the computer.
Actually, no, never mind. I take that back. He was. Who was he down? Istomin, that's what it was. He was down 2-1 against Istomin here. Istamen's on the bottom. So that was the only time he had to play from behind.
Yeah.
And he, he was doing it, a guy in Istomin who certainly is not on the level of Federer
Or Nadal.
Or Federer or Djokovic in a pressure situation like that.
Yeah.
So the, my concern is if he's playing from behind in the final, which I expect him to be behind at some point, how is that?
How is he going to come back?
Exactly. How is he going to perform? Because against both Federer and Djokovic, he was up the whole match. He was never playing from behind. Might have been even against Fed, but he was never playing from behind. So that is a little bit, a weight off your shoulders, not quite as much pressure.
Sure.
So you never know how these guys are, particularly first Grand Slam final, how are they going to handle it? So I'm trying to talk about tennis and watch the penalty kick.
Keep it focused.
Yeah, stay on target, as you would say. But with that in mind, why don't we now talk about
shift gears? Talk about
let's talk about Murray and Rafa.
Another great match.
Yeah, this was just a virtuoso performance by Rafa. Here's the scoreline. Here's Rafa and Andy.
Rafa's on the bottom.
4-6 and 4. It was just the stats are this number, by the way, 60%. Got dragged down as the match wore on. In the first two sets, Murray was serving out of control. I mean, the guy's percentage was about 75%. In the fourth set, what am I talking about? In the second set, before the breaker.
Yeah, people can't see the numbers right now. You're hovering over.
Right, so 60%. In the second set here, Murray had 6 service games and lost only 4 points.
Okay.
When he was serving, he lost 4 points over 6 games on his serve, which is insane.
Yeah.
And then in the breaker, he lost 3 points on serve.
Yeah.
And was
well, that'll do you in every time.
Well,
it's got to be frustrating to only lose 4 points and get broken.
Oh, it's got to be wildly frustrating. And then he was up a break in the third set, and then gave it away. But after being down 2 sets to none, that's just such a difficult.
That's also, though, I think, of course, a testament to Nadal's skill as well.
Well, what I was going to say is, Rafa is clearly the best tennis player in the world right now. He was unbelievable, I thought. I mean, again, a guy who, while Murray lost only 4 points on serve during the second set, the games, not the breaker, he served equally as well in the first set, and then had lapse to get broken. But the guy, Murray played unbelievably well, and Rafa still beat him in straight sets.
Yep.
And that's just, the shot making from Rafa was incredible. The defense and the offense was just fantastic. I think if Uruguay makes this kick, then the game's over, right? Yeah,
I haven't been.
So, while Adam types in the poll, I'm going to keep a quick eye out to see. Oh, he missed it high. Too many sports going on right now.
I know.
It's hard for me to.
I know.
It's hard for me to focus. What's interesting is I believe this World Cup is being played at altitude. And the ball, they've been talking about how it flies a little bit. And this last penalty kick for the goalpost.
Sure.
Affects tennis as well, where you're playing at altitude. That's why that's why Rafa doesn't he's not a huge fan of the Madrid clay court tournament because it's at about 2,000 feet. I think so. His groundies are sometimes a little bit looser than he would like. So it's interesting how. And then what course field?
You know what sport? We've talked about this before. That altitude affects the most is ice skating, speed skating in particular, because the ice melts at a lower temperature at altitude. And you'll actually skate tremendously faster at altitude than you will at sea level.
So I think you
so
were
basically
this
almost all of the world record speed skating times are set at high altitudes, or actually were set at a particular Olympics where they were pretty high up. I'm trying to remember where it was. I'll have to go Wikipedia it, but interesting knowledge. So altitude and weather does definitely affect every sport.
Yeah, a little bit. And they were talking about if the roof closes, how that affects, between Murray and Rafa, obviously they didn't have to close it. But it was, you know, let me see what the stat line again was from an unforced. Yeah, Rafa made 13 unforced errors over the course of those 3 sets against a guy in Murray who doesn't, you know, who makes you hit a lot of balls. I mean, Murray can play aggressively, and he did play aggressively. I thought his game plan was pretty solid. It just wasn't, you know, from an execution standpoint, all there. But Rafa, you know, gave him absolutely nothing. I'm going to pause for a second. If they make this, then the game's over. That's tough. All right. All right. Well, on that note, back to the tennis.
Back to the tennis.
I've lost focus.
Wow.
All right. Yeah. So I mean, in terms of Murray's game plan, had to serve big. He did that.
Yeah.
Had to return well. He did that in spurts. A little bit inconsistent. I thought he did at times use all of his variety to play aggressively. He would serve and volley occasionally. Nice play. He threw in the drop shot, but sometimes was a little bit too cute and lost some points he should have probably either won, or he should have done better in terms of a shot selection standpoint. But you know, you wonder, Murray's level was so high and he still got beat.
Yeah.
And it's just because Rafa made no errors and hit a bunch of fantastic roundies. So, you know, I think with that in mind, we can look forward to SW19. Rafa as good as 2008. I think he's better, actually.
I think he's playing amazingly right now. He seems a little slow at the beginning of the year, but I think he's pretty much unstoppable right now.
I mean, I think this is the best he's ever played, actually, this last match. I don't think I've ever... I mean, it's hard to top the 2008 final versus Federer.
Sure.
But Rafa was just ridiculous. You know, there's a point I wanted to... There was a thing Rafa likes to do, which we can quickly diagram. And then this is an important sort of tactic Rafa uses. It was effective against Murray. I think it'll be more effective against Berdych. Whenever a guy goes line, and by that I mean, let's say Rafa is in a cross-court rally. This would be a backhand for Rafa and a forehand for his opponent. Whenever his opponent goes line, Rafa loves to move over and hit his reply back down the line, which is a lower percentage play. Rafa's able to pull it off particularly well on the forehand because he got a lot of topspin, but he does it on the backhand often as well when he can get set. And what that does is, you know, of course, if you're here, if you're this player and you go down the line, the recovery position, if you've watched our strategy court positioning, is over here. So most guys are leaning in this direction. They're leaning this way. That's a good play against most other pros, against most people, because you expect the shot to go cross court. But Rafa went line a lot, and Murray got wrong-footed often, was off balance a little bit, which led to some short balls Rafa could attack. And I think this particular play you're going to see quite frequently against Berdych, who is not as good of a mover as Murray, not anywhere close. Murray's one of the best movers on tour. So you know, it'll be interesting to see how often Rafa goes to that. You know, I think the matchup presents a lot of problems actually for Berdych, if we want to talk about that. If you guys have any questions.
Is that strategy of, you know, taking that down the line ball and going back down the line with it really more effective for Rafa? He has so much topspin on his ground strokes, and there's a shorter court to work with there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's just, you know.
So it's not every player, you think. I mean, probably most players on the pro tour can do it, but Rafa is just better at doing it.
Well, Rafa's better at doing it.
And can penetrate the court more
yeah,
with it.
It works well for Rafa for a couple of reasons. One, on the forehand with the reverse, like you said, there's topspin. You know, there's more topspin than most of these guys. But he also can hit it basically, you know, without really getting his feet set. He can run through it, hit his reverse forehand. So, you know, that's a huge advantage where other guys, they try and do that. They're going to leave it short. They're not going to have nearly as much. Rafa, also because he's so good at defense, he can, you know, if he goes down the line, he's leaving a lot of open court for his opponent to hit into if his opponent gets to the ball. Rafa's so fast that and so strong that he can, you know, get to a lot of those cross-court balls and do something with them. So he's obviously got some advantages that a lot of other players don't have, which is why he that strategy much more effectively. But I think, let's see. Do I think Dane Vito asked, do I think Rafa will win the U.S. Open this year? It's hard to tell simply because I want to see how he would play in the two tune-ups to the U.S. Open, and then see where his fitness is at. I expect him to manage his schedule very well and essentially not play until the Rogers Cup play, Rogers and Cincy, and then straight into the U.S. Open, which I think is the right play there. I think he's got a great chance, but a lot of it depends on his health. So yeah, I mean, English ROG is saying he tends to fade after Wimbledon. True.
So much
also didn't manage the schedule as well as he has been now.
So much of, I think, at the highest levels, these pros performing well is schedule management. I mean, that seems to be an issue for a lot of top pros. It's actually pretty difficult over the course of a year. I mean, how long is the tennis season? 9 months almost?
Yeah, I mean 10. I mean
10 months.
You get 6 weeks off, I think.
Right, and you know you have to go for the better part of a year, and you have to be at your peak 4 times during that year.
Yeah.
And you know, for a lot of these players, though, you know, outside of the top 10, say, or maybe the top 20, schedule management is even that much more important if you want to go deep in the majors, because in order to make money, you have to play a lot of tournaments that the better guys don't have to play because they know they're going to go deep in the big ones. That's where they're going to get paid, you know. But the players who are not the top,
endorsements and everything.
Right, they have to play more tournaments, which actually could make it harder for them to peak during those tournaments. So it actually takes quite a bit to sort of overcome that training barrier almost.
Charles asked in the chat, why do you think Hasse and Pechner did better against Rafa than, say, a Murray, who's clearly a superior player? You know, part of it is it's earlier in the tournament, so guys play themselves into shape. And, you know, not just in terms of their ground strokes and their timing, but also mentally. So, you know, there's a tendency sometimes when you're not 100% mentally locked in to have a loose game here or there that can cost you a set. Those guys also played extremely well. So you don't want to take something away from their level. I mean, they were serving big, hitting big ground strokes. But Rafa has really cleaned up his game. I mean, again, the guy's not giving anything away. I mean, he's literally not making any mistakes. He's playing incredible defense. He's playing defense almost as well as he plays it on clay.
Right.
Not giving anything away. No mistakes. You have to hit a winner.
Right.
And then as soon as you give him a look, he switches to offense.
Right.
Just an incredible, you know, ability to transition between. Kind of skip over neutral, you know, and
just go straight there without making too many unforced errors.
Oh yeah, I mean 13
without
over,
making
13 over 3 sets is unbelievable.
Right.
So
that actually averages out to what, less than 1 a game, maybe, over 3 sets.
Yeah, I mean I think it's less than 1 error a game.
Actually no, I mean I take that back. That would only be on his serve. That's
no errors. I mean just whenever.
Yeah.
It's just over the course of the
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the total number of games in those 3 sets. Would have been 10 plus.
I mean, it's probably like an error every 3 games.
13 plus 10, so 33 games.
Yeah, it's
and
like
he
an error.
made 13
it's like
errors.
Basically a little more
a third
than
of an error a game. That's pretty crazy.
What was I looking for? I was looking.
Or 1 error every 3 games is a better way to put that, which is just insane.
Well, yeah, and this is where, you know, you talk to somebody like Andre Agassi, who said at some point he basically was looking to make about 7 unforced errors a set.
Right.
So yeah, looking at coming back to Berdych, if we're going to talk, let's talk about this match. I think this guy's got a lot on. He's going to have a tough time winning this match.
Want to clip over there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, my prediction for this match is Rafa in straight sets. I think he's going to steamroll Berdych. 57% is the stat I wanted to show you. That's not going to get it done. If Murray was serving the lights out and then still couldn't, you know, get a dent, you know, take a set off of Rafa. I also think if we go to the dry erase board, a play that has been really effective for Berdych, we'll put him up here. 1 second to diagram this. Is his inside-out forehand. So he'll get control of the point with the forehand here. Majority of these balls, remember Berdych is a flatter ball have as much topspin. So the court is longer and lower net in this direction. He's been sending a lot of forehands over here, been creating nice angles too, getting some balls really far off the court. This obviously goes into a righty's backhand, which is more exploitable. This is straight into Rafa's forehand. He is not going to struggle with these shots nearly as much as Djokovic, Federer. And I expect Rafa to take a lot of these maybe up the line. And, you know, a lot of these are going to just be straight up winners because Berdych is not going to expect that. And when he does play it back cross court, it's going to be much deeper, much more difficult for Berdych. Yes, the ball is going to sit up high in his strike zone, but there's so much weight of shot behind Rafa's balls. I mean, Murray is 6'3". He's only 2 inches shorter. And Murray was hammering backhands cross court, and it obviously wasn't an effective strategy, wasn't effective enough. So I think Berdych is really going to have his hands full. He's going to have to change direction, I think, and not just try and hit through Rafa. That's not going to work. He's going to have to try and pull him off the court. And the question is how effective is his down the line forehand going to be as well? Again, less topspin, or rather, Berdych doesn't hit with a ton of topspin, so that's going to be a lower percentage play than it would be for a Murray. I think Berdych has a lot of problems. That's not even considering the movement issue like we diagrammed before, where Rafa is going to look to wrong foot him, get him off balance. And if Berdych gives him a short ball, I mean, the point's over. Murray has incredible defense, played defense well, won some points he shouldn't have won. Berdych's defense, you know, it's not going to get it done once Rafa gets on. Once Rafa gets on offense, the point's basically over.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's really one kind of play that'll be effective for Berdych versus somebody like Murray who, you know, could go to defense a little bit more. So I think the window for Berdych is very, very small. And again, there's the question of what's he going to do when he gets behind.
Yeah.
You're 5-time Roland Garros champion, Wimbledon champ, Aussie Open champ. You get behind a set, and then, you know, I'm sure he knows about the stat where Rafa wins the first set at a major and like hasn't lost.
Yeah.
I think he's like 80 or 80 something and 1 maybe. Better believe Berdych knows that stat. So how is the mental, you know, side of things going to come in if things don't go Berdych's way? And they're not, you know, it's not going to be like Djokovic again or Federer where, you know, he never gets quite behind. He might get pushed or get broken, but he's never behind. Well, he's going to be behind. I can almost guarantee you against Rafa. How's he going to handle it on that, you know, grandest stage in tennis? Yeah, Mo, we'll get to the women right now, and sort of my thoughts on the men's side. Were you going to ask a trivia question?
Well, I was going to ask a trivia question.
Okay, the gift is a 20. No, it's not. It's a autograph card, Fernando Gonzo. Be nice to. Okay. So while you ask that, I'm going to get ready. All right, go ahead.
This one is relatively straightforward today. I want to know the score line of the 2008 Wimbledon final, the epic between Federer and Rafa. What was the score line? I know a lot of people remember these score lines just off the top of their head.
I know what it is off the top of my head. All right, Mo Winnie got it.
All right.
Close, Orange Eater, but Mo Winnie got it.
Wow, you just barely got beaten out, Orange Eater. Now, a lot of people do know these things, just bam, just like that. There's a lot of knowledge floating around in our chat.
ROG, I haven't checked my my email yet. He won the other day. I'm gonna get to all this stuff after Wimbledon. We're pretty busy.
Shocker. Okay.
Let's talk about the women's side of things. We got Serena Williams, Vera Zvonareva.
Yeah. Let me clip over.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to show other than.
Sure. That's fine.
You know, I want to say something interesting about this match. I think it's going to be straight sets.
I think so. I think Serena takes it easily. She's on cruise control right now. I think I said that yesterday, and I don't see her dropping a set.
against Pironkova, Zvonareva, 65% first serves, and she did hit a nice, 31 winners, 13 unforced errors. So she played some solid ball, and she's going to need to do that against Serena. High first serve percentage. Serena's going to be almost at the service line,
right,
returning the second serve.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I think
very
her first serve
aggressive on that
percentage,
second serve.
first serve percentage needs to be around 70, and she's she needs to move the ball around and not make many mistakes.
Yeah.
That's hardly the kind of insightful analysis, but
Well,
Serena is the other thing is return well. I mean, just get as many returns
right.
In as possible on Serena's serve. But Serena's been serving so well that it's gonna be hard to make a dent.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the trick to
70%
beating Serena is just going to be that you need to
Kvitova.
you need to stay on off often as possible. You need to keep a lot of balls deep, and you can't let her move up on you.
Yeah, and the other
it's over.
The other question is the cycle. I mean, Zvonareva has been more mentally tough this tournament, and just like Berdych, how she going to handle it when she gets behind? I'm almost certain she'll be behind at some point during this match, or at least in a tight spot. She did do a nice job of coming back from in the semis, but again, it's you're not playing Serena Williams in the final of Wimbledon.
Sure.
So
Status X, McEnroe saying he could beat Serena. McEnroe, you'd actually be very surprised at how good McEnroe still is right now. How old is he now?
50.
He's 50. I have personally seen McEnroe take apart guys who are, top, like, say, 200 in the world, doing very well on the challenger circuit. I mean, he just destroys them. So, yeah, McEnroe is actually really good. And we have that video that we've played before of John Isner serving, but that was at a charity event where John McEnroe and John Isner were doubles against the Bryan brothers. And if you just watch McEnroe's hands, it's unbelievable. I mean, he ends points against the Bryan brothers.
McEnroe is one of the best players that ever lived. The guy's really good.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. Really it's really surprising. So yes, he would easily beat Serena.
I mean, that's something I don't want to wade into. Not to pour kind of cold water on you, but I think you're speculating.
Probably. He's
anyway,
good though.
We're not going to wade into that. So, well, we're at about 5:30. Do you guys have any questions on these matches tomorrow or the matches today before we round this thing out? Yeah, Ma, like you said, I'm not going to sort of wade into the question you asked, so I'm just going to, I'm not going to get into it. How many sets men's final? It's going to be straight sets, I think. Rafa over Berdych. I think Rafa's playing way too well.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And I'll release a preview video tomorrow for this match. But I think Berdych has some. He needs to play better than he's been playing, and he's got some tactical disadvantages, like his inside-out forehand to Rafa's forehand. It's not going to be nearly as effective hitting into someone's forehand versus their backhand. Favorite for the U.S. Open is way too far out to tell. Way too far out. People can get injured.
Sure.
Their game might. Who knows where their game's going to be at?
Right. I mean, we already know certainly some guys who could be in the running. Like Del Potro's out. That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
now, obviously on the men's side, and then you've got is Federer. Well, Federer is going to be at the U.S. Open, but he's injured for now.
He said he'd be fine after a couple days.
And, of course, we know Enna is out for the U.S. Open on the women's side. So, way too early to tell.
That's a long way off.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we're gonna sign off tomorrow. Before we go, we are doing this at noon, not at 5. Noon Eastern Standard Time. Basically, right after the women's final is at 9 a.m. And then we're going to do this at noon because obviously 4th of July weekend, we've got things to do, barbecues to go to. We don't want to hold you at 5 o'clock for people on the East Coast. Obviously, you couldn't, that would prevent you from doing something else.
Sure.
And we don't just want to get in the way. So Noon tomorrow, obviously during the final on Sunday. So it'll be basically 9 a.m. on Sunday. So yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to add there. Oh, I do actually have something else to add. For those of you who missed it, we did a live Q&A yesterday at 7 o'clock, which is right below this video. There's a YouTube embed where you can watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Pretty long. It's about an hour and a half. It took a lot of questions. But there's some good content in there.
Questions,
how to beat a
strategy
moon
questions,
baller, how to beat a moon baller pusher, and sort of the question a lot of people have. So with that in mind, we are going to sign off. So we will see you tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time.
All right, see you guys
later.